Today, we're diving into the legendary radio show that connected fans with their rock idols like never before. I'm of course talking about Rockline, the groundbreaking call-in show that ran over 3 decades, from its meteoric rise to its eventual fall. Rockline was a cornerstone of rock culture. Let's explore its incredible journey. The year was 1981. Rock music was thriving and fans wanted more than just the experience of listening to music or reading rock magazines. They wanted a new way to connect with their favorite artists. And while MTV would be born the same year, on May 4th, 1981, Rockline debuted with original host B. Mitchell Reed, featuring guests Joe Walsh of the Eagles and Tom Johnston of the Doobie Brothers. The show was originally broadcast on KLOS in Los Angeles and quickly gained popularity. While B. Mitchell Reed set the stage, it was Bob Coburn who became the iconic voice for Rockline. Dubbed the godfather of rock and roll for Coburn's encyclopedic knowledge, his interviews were unpredictable and interesting. The show was broadcast on Mondays for 90 minutes, as most bands didn't play shows on that day. It would air in Canada, the US, and Japan on over 200 stations. Coburn remarked about the goal of the show: "We wanted to create a platform where fans could have real, unfiltered conversations with the rock heroes. It was all about breaking down the barriers between the artists and their audience." Over its 33-year run, Rockline featured a who's who of rock legends, from Ozzy Osbourne, who appeared a record 18 times, to the members of Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, Pearl Jam, and Nirvana. The show became a rite of passage for musicians. According to a former producer for the show, when labels were coming up with the marketing plans for major album releases, back when people bought albums, the holy grail of promotion included Rolling Stone, Saturday Night Live, and Rockline. The show created countless unforgettable moments in rock history. For instance, when Robert Plant appeared on the show, the number of calls was so high that it blew out the 1-800 phone system for all of Florida. Fans were so eager to connect to the show that some people would call in 24 hours before the episode aired, letting it ring the whole day in hopes of getting through. There were, of course, some memorable moments, like the time Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash got sick live on the air. He humorously asked host Bob Coburn, "Where's the barf bag, dude?" This incident became legendary, with Coburn remarking that the band had gotten a lot of mileage for being known as the band that threw up on Rockline.
Anyway, and then in the 80s, Guns N' Roses finally got to that place where we were getting some radio play, and Bob Coburn and I started out on the wrong foot. we met for the first time, and Guns was down in his little studio in Studio City doing a radio, doing an interview, and I was drinking and doing all that kind of stuff, and I'd just eaten next door at some little restaurant prior to the interview, and on air I got really sick and I threw up into a paper bag. And at the time I didn't think it was a big deal, but Bob thought, I don't know, this story spread that we were just out of control, and I was pretty, I guess for want of a better word, despicable. And so there was a big negative thing between myself and Bob for a long time, but then we got reacquainted.
Another memorable instance was when the Black Crowes appeared on Rockline after being fired from their opening slot for ZZ Top in the early 90s. They used the platform to discuss their dismissal due to the comments they made about Miller Brewing, who was actually sponsoring the tour. Rockline presented a lot of advantages to artists from their typical promotion. It allowed them to safely interact with their fans. Simply sitting down for one interview with Rockline would get broadcast on nearly 200 stations, and since it was live, what the artist said wasn't edited or chopped up. The show typically generated about 120,000 calls per episode, with only about 20 to 30 making it on the air, so they had a ton of people listening. And generally those people who got on the air got some sort of prize or signed album or new album. Of course, like anything successful, there were also rip-offs that sprouted up covering other genres and formats like top 40, classical, as well as country music. Of course, the show had its detractors as well, with some claiming that having guests like Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards, who had a checkered past with the law and drugs, seemed to give an X-rated superstar a G-rated makeover. My favorite quote came from writer John Myers, who wrote, "Guests on Rockline are not presented as freaks like the people on Geraldo or Donahue. Instead, they are presented as creative artists, and the carefully orchestrated conversation focuses on their work." By the early 90s, Rockline's creators were in discussions with several networks to air a video version of the show. ABC was initially supposed to air the program at night, but they couldn't guarantee it would be live. Instead, the show found an expanded home on MTV. What's funny is MTV originally rejected the idea several years prior. The MTV version was done in about half-an-hour installments, shot in Los Angeles, and included a wider genre of artists. So it wasn't just rock artists, but also pop artists as well. The MTV version was a massive hit, bringing in nearly 500,000 viewers per episode. A crew of 40 operators screened callers each week, with the show receiving an astounding 100,000 calls per episode.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Tonight, we have got, as I said, a whole stack of phone calls. First one tonight, we'd like to welcome our christening show phone caller, Chrissy from Hammond, Indiana. I got it around to it. Hammond, Indiana has Chrissy on the phone. Chrissy, say hi to Brett.
Hi, Brett.
Hi, Chrissy. How are you doing?
I'm great. I love you. I want to tell you that first. I love you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We had a hard time getting fans who would be enthusiastic.
No, this is great. That's what rock and roll is all about, being excited about.
By the early 90s, Coburn left the show and was replaced by several new hosts, including Ricky Rackman of Headbangers Ball fame, as well as Steve Downs. Coburn would, however, return by 1997. In 1999, Rockline expanded to 2 nights a week, showcasing both classic and more contemporary rock acts. This move reflected the show's ability to bridge the generations of rock fans as well as artists. Coburn remarked at the time, "We wanted to keep the show fresh and relevant, so we decided to feature both the legends and the new kids on the block." It was the same year in 1999 that Rockline celebrated its 1000th episode, with David Bowie making an appearance on the show, in addition to performing on a 2-hour-long episode. But by the end of the decade, due to the changing radio industry, the show soon saw several changes in ownership, with the horrible company Clear Channel eventually taking over. By 2002, the program was cut from Clear Channel's lineup, but Coburn stepped in and rescued the show, eventually purchasing it, and broadcaster Crystal Media Networks began broadcasting Rockline. But as the new millennium dawned, the music industry began to change dramatically. The rise of the internet, social media, and streaming services transformed how fans interacted with artists as well as how they listened to music. Suddenly, the unique access that Rockline provided was available 24/7 through platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. In November of 2014, Bob Coburn made a bittersweet announcement that Rockline would be signing off for good. The final broadcast aired on December 22nd, 2014, marking the end of an era. The show broadcast nearly 3,000 episodes and earned nearly a dozen awards from Billboard magazine for Best Syndicated Show. Coburn remarked, looking back at the program, "The world changed. What was once an innovative, unique idea became just one of many ways for fans to connect with their favorite artist." As for ending the show, he would remark, "It was a tough decision, but it was time. The landscape of music and media had changed so much. Rockline had a great run, but all good things must come to an end." Sadly, though, 2 years later, in 2016, Coburn passed away at the age of 68 due to lung cancer. Rockline's influence on rock culture cannot be overstated. It humanized rock stars, gave fans unprecedented access, and created a community around rock music. While the show may be off the air, its impact continues to resonate in how we engage with music and musicians today. So what are your guys' memories of Rockline? Did you ever call in and win anything? Share your stories in the comments below. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more rock history deep dives. Till next time, guys, keep on rocking.